What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel and welcome to another Dragonheir Silent Gods video slash Dragonstride Legacy Reborn. Guys, in today's video, we're gonna talk about all of the 6 exclusives. I wanna somehow try to help you understand which one is the right pick for your account, which one you should go for. So far, all I've seen are people being confused, people being pushed by other people. Go for Flora, go for Flora, go for Flora, even though she might not be the character that you need on your account. So that's what we're going to do in today's video. We have this banner available at the moment that has all of the 6 exclusives available, okay? You can select one of the 6 exclusives from here. And as I've mentioned, we're going to go over pros, we're going to go over cons, and I'm going to basically explain you where these characters are good, why they are good, and hopefully that will somehow help you decide what you need for your account. One thing that I do want to mention, you do not necessarily have to listen to anybody, okay? I feel like playing games is all about having fun. And you're gonna have fun by playing the characters that you like, both visually and skill-wise, okay? So as long as you are happy with that, you should not be giving a damn about what everybody tells you in the chat. Go Flora, go Flora, go Flora, go Flora, even though it might not really make sense to you and your account. But before we get into that part, guys, if you want to help and support the channel, if you want to put your hand on more free rewards, head over to the link in the description down below or the pinned comment, or head over to the announcement tab, bind your invitation code, and use code Skratch to put your hand on free rewards straight away, and you're gonna have a chance to earn tons of giveaways as well, Heliolite dice, gems, and all the goodies. Leaving all that on the side, let's quickly talk about pros and cons. So this right here, for whoever doesn't know, guys, this is my tier list spreadsheet. I have tons of information in here. I'm constantly updating this as well. I have tons of more work that I want to do with this, but it will be in the pinned comment, the description down below. I have a video talking about the entire spreadsheet, tier list, and everything else, how you can filter it, how you can basically see which characters are good, all that stuff, okay? Then we do have some other things as well. We have the NPC locations. Some of them need to be adjusted because you cannot basically challenge all of the characters, not the premium ones. You have the tower defense, all of the towers that you can challenge in Season 1 as well. You have all of the treasure map for this new area that we've just unlocked a couple of days. If you collect them all, you should be getting a legendary scroll. And we're going to do an artifact tier list as well. But in today's video, we are going to talk about Season 1 exclusives, pros and cons, okay? And let's start with Flora, since everybody tells you to go and get Flora, okay? What are the pros for Flora? Then we're going to go over cons. So, one of the pros for Flora is the fact that she is OP #1 in Temporal Vortex. Okay. Some of you guys are asking, Skratch, why should I push the Temporal Vortex to get more rewards than more damage than I actually need to get these rewards on the left side? Well, it's all about leaderboards, ranking rewards, and it's all about getting this Echo of Clepsydra. Okay, this is going to be the ultimate currency that will decide what ranking you are going to get on the leaderboard at the end of the season. So if you go right here to Chaos Clepsydra, you go to season ranking, you're gonna see that this is what decides what ranking you're getting. Now, while the Temporal Vortex is pretty important, nothing really compares with the actual endgame, the continental bosses, and of course the actual endgame boss, which will drop tons of Clepsydra. Now, the Temporal Vortex will drop you a lot, and it's going to be a significant amount that will impact your ranking right here. Okay, season phase 1, season phase 2, season stage 3, and all of the rewards that you're getting. That's why it's important to have a good Temporal Vortex team. Now, because you're already going to compete versus a lot of Mega Krakens in here, as you guys probably noticed, you have to ask yourself, can I get top 50, top 100 without Flora? Can I get it with Flora? If you pay attention at all of the damage, they are hundreds of millions, all the way up to top 30 or so. Can you beat that with a Flora? Do you have the rest of the characters that you need available? And that is basically what should help you decide a bit if Flora is the right pick for the Temporal Vortex for your team or not. Moving on to the next pro. She is number 1 versus single target bosses in long fights, okay? Yes, they will be continental bosses where she will be number 1 in there. Mainly because she is a ranged unit, okay? Which is really helpful. If you have a melee character, it will go next to the boss will damage it, your team will struggle to stay alive. Having multiple ranged characters in a team, it will allow you to trick the boss and the way he's using the skill, so you can probably get out of it just with one support character. That's why it's pretty important to have ranged units versus this type of bosses. Now, some of you never encountered them, but I will be doing videos to show you from the test server what you can expect. So, those are the next pros with her. Yes, she can speed run dungeons, but is a lot of RNG. With a lot of RNG, right? Which does not make it very reliable. But she can speedrun some of the dungeons. That being said, these are some of the pros that she will actually bring to the table. One of the final pro is that she is going to be a top 3 DPS for the Temporal Vortex across multiple seasons. Am I spelling that right? Probably not. Multiple seasons, right? So, that being said, she does have longevity too. Season 2, she's not going to be number 1, but she can be number 2. Season 3, once again, she's not going to be number 1, but she might be number 2 or number 3. So, basically, that's what you need to keep in mind. Cons, in order to really push up big damage, you need Felicity, Caspar, Erich, okay? That's a pretty okay-ish thing, because every single character will need other characters. Now, the good thing is that you can replace one of them with the epic Tunnel Nun, okay? So that is not really necessarily the biggest con, but I'm gonna put it at cons, because this is gonna be a con for every single one of the characters. You need specific characters to gain the biggest value out of them. Then, she sucks versus AoE bosses. And I'm not talking about the type of the damage that the bosses deal. I'm talking about bosses that have multiple enemies, bosses that have multiple heads, bosses that have multiple arms, bosses that need to take AoE damage. She sucks versus AoE bosses. I mean, sucks. She's not the best, okay? Don't get me wrong. She's not going to suck like she's going to be awful. She's still going to perform good, but comparing her with other exclusives, she kind of sucks in that. Talking about other cons with her, too much RNG in the speedruns. Not reliable. And that's mainly because the wild team is very RNG in the Temporal Vortex as well. You need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 runs to get the best result. Maybe sometimes 20 in a day to get the best result with your wild team, because it's all about rolling the freaking dice, gambling, and you don't know what's the outcome. That's why it's a lot of RNG in dungeons. So not very reliable, okay, to basically consider it a team to farm with, because you're gonna have probably 20 failures or 10 failures, 1 win rate. Now, it doesn't really matter in Dragonheir because you're not losing your stamina. So if this is not really something that bothers you, not a problem. The next con, not great for progression, okay? As simple as that. She's really not good for progression. Now, every exclusive character needs the exclusive artifact to generate crazy damage. I'm not going to include that in here. I forgot to mention it at the beginning. But that is something that every unit needs, okay? So if your main goal is to be number 1 in Temporal Vortex or to compete in there, to compete in other content, So, for example, we have these new events coming, right? We have the Continental bosses coming with the Imperial Shadow recast. She's going to be great in here versus one of the bosses. You can only use her once, okay? But so will be every other exclusive. She's probably going to be superior to them. If we're talking about the other world exploration, I might be wrong in here because I do not remember exactly the boss, but he had like tentacles and different things, if I remember it correctly, which means that the best damage dealers will be AoE damage dealers versus the other world exploration boss. So Flora will drop down in here, comparing her with other damage dealers. And it's the same story, for example, in the Alliance boss. Right here, the best damage dealers are, for example, Poison, Necros, Lightning, maybe Frost, Radiance, and Wild are at around the same level, more or less. I haven't really tested them all, right? But if we're talking about these type of bosses, Flora, she's really not great there. She's not the best. She's not good for progression. She's not good in the Feymender and all that content. Then, moving on to LOTHAIR. He is probably number one versus AoE bosses, okay? And I'm talking about a lot of them. I'm talking about the endgame boss that I just showed you. I'm talking about the Alliance boss that I've just showed you. He is number one in there. Then, talking about dungeons, speedruns, not so much. I'm not saying that you cannot do bosses with him as speedruns or anything like that. It's pretty hard to find him a lot of pros, but he is good versus single target bosses too. Great versus single target bosses. Not number one, not number two, but still good, okay? So he will perform pretty well in there. Across seasons, he will still maintain value, but probably he will be top one versus AoE, at least for the next season, depending on what other they're bringing across seasons, right? Yeah, I had a feeling that across is only with one damn C. I'm not sure why I've put two in them, but hey. Then, basically, there aren't that many pros with him. He's good, but he's not something that you should target as your number one. In terms of cons, he needs Twitch, Vikana, and he needs the epic, okay? And the name of the epic is, I forgot his name right now. Let me just quickly find him for you. The heck, what's your name, bro? What is your freaking name? How did I just forget it? Let's go down here. Corin. And Corin, right? So, not really such a huge con, but without Twitch, you're kind of screwed, okay? You don't really have a good replacement for that. They are harder to build, okay? Because they need more stats. Hard to build, they need attack, crit, they need enlightenment, they need accuracy. Now you can drop the crit rate, that's not a problem, okay? But they will still need a lot of stats. Then, not that great versus dungeon bosses, okay? It doesn't mean you cannot use them, they're just not shining in there. And not great for progression. And to put another con, not great in PvP and Fey, okay? And same goes for Flora. Not great in PvP and Fey. Okay? Then, that's more or less it about it. Number one versus AoE bosses, etc. Moving on to Nasty Jenka. Now, she's a bit of both worlds, okay? Amazing in the Vortex. Okay? Probably number two in the current season. The queen of speedrunning. Good in PvP. Good in continental bosses. Good in endgame bosses. And top 2 speedruns across seasons. Okay, so she will be good next season. The season after, she's going to maintain a very, very good value. She doesn't have the craziest AoE damage, but she's still very effective. Dauntless overall, they are very, very effective. So that being said, Nasty Jenka, she is, without a doubt, one of the better choices because she does bring in a lot of utility. Okay, progression-wise, yes, pretty good for progression. Good for progression. Okay, regardless if we're talking about dungeons, Fae, etc. She's not going to be the most OP in Fae or anything like that, but she is much better than LOTHAIR or than Flora. Cons. She needs, of course, Ivelios. She needs Tarivol. And we could say Sura. Okay? You have epic replacements for them. They won't perform as good, but this is a con that every single exclusive has. She is not a ranged character, right? So that is a bit of a con versus some of the bosses, which means that you might need more support, but that does not necessarily mean that is an extremely bad thing. That's just how it is. Now, other than that, in terms of cons, she is not great in high stages for the Fae, okay? She's just not great climbing from floor 220 to 300 or anything like that. In terms of progression-wise, I think she's pretty good as a progression character. I think I like her and stuff like that. Harder to build? Not really. Very standard with other characters. So overall, she doesn't really have that many cons. So if your main thing is having all of those pros, number 2 in Vortex after Flora, the queen of speedrunning, good in PvP, good in continental bosses, good in endgame bosses, top 2 speedruns, hell yeah. Why not? Good for progression. Now, speedruns across seasons, I mean it, right? Because she is number 1 this time around, with a bit of competition from Flora, which is bringing quite a bit of RNG, but you can do speedruns with Flora as well. So take all this into consideration, okay? Talendor. I'm not a big fan of Rally, okay? I feel like Rally is really underperforming compared to the other elements in most content. There's really not much to tell you about this character in terms of pros. Yes, good versus endgame boss because he does bring AoEs. Now, he's not top 1 or anything like that. Endgame boss, sorry, or slash AoE boss. Good versus continental. Or single target. Then he's not great in PvP. Progression-wise, not great. Dungeon-wise, really not great. Mid in the other areas. Okay. Good, not great versus Alliance boss. And that's not a Temporal Vortex. That's the Planar Expedition. Cons. He needs low Rantil. Without low Rantil, he is screwed. No replacement, okay? No replacement. Then, in order for Rally to perform good, yeah, you need to bring in a Huberg, Filto, different characters like that. He is not a ranged character either. Okay, so that's another con. Not great in PvP. He can be useful in lower tier PvP, but he's not meta whatsoever. Not great for progression. Okay. Not the best in dungeon, but he can be decent in dungeons. Okay, so decent in dungeons. We're not gonna put a con for that. Not good in Fae high stages. Okay, because he will get absolutely wrecked because he's not a ranged character. So he will be struggling in there, okay? Other than that, there isn't that much to tell you about the character, okay? I feel like out of all of the exclusives, the 6 of them, he is the weakest in my opinion, at least this time around. Maybe next season, this will change, but I'm not going to hold my breath hoping for that. I'm going to look at facts, okay? Then, Vitar. A lot of people are saying Vitar is only good versus PvP and Goblin. That's it. She's not good anywhere else. Now, let's start talking a bit about Vitar. Queen in PvP. Queen in Fey. She's the #1 Fey damage dealer, right? And that is a pretty important part. Great versus waves or tons of enemies, okay? Which a lot of other ones are lacking. Good versus bosses, and that will be both continental and AoE bosses, okay? She's good. Not the best, but good. Huge for progression. Good in dungeons. Like, everybody was running Vitar in Grave of Venom, Rot, and all of the other dungeons as well to progress. And that is very, very important. Progression is extremely, extremely important. Till you get to use Nasty Jenka and Flora to absolutely demolish the bosses in speedruns, you will have to go through some other characters. Now, Nasty Jenka can be very useful progression-wise, but Vitar can be very, very useful as well, because she does deal a lot of damage. So when we're talking about Vitar, she's not only good in that particular content. And one thing that I kind of forgot to mention about Talendor, not great in the Vortex, okay? Really not great in the Vortex. And that goes the same for Vitar. That's her weakness. Not great in the Vortex. Then, other pros on her, she is range. Okay, ranged character. Cons with Vitar, no speedruns. Who gives a damn about that so much? Not that many. She does need Losenia to perform the best, but easily replaced by the epic Rava that you can get for free. And she's still going to perform amazing. Other than that, she does not really have a lot of cons. Not great versus single target bosses, okay? So that is a con for her. But other than that, Vitar is an absolute freaking monster, okay? So that's something that you should keep in mind. Moving on to the next one. Lewyn. She is a jack of all trades as well. Okay, so starting with pros. Great in Temporal Vortex. Not the best, not this season, but she has the potential to be one of the best in the next season with the addition of the Dark Lady. So at the moment, she is top 3 in, maybe top 4 in the Temporal Vortex, actually, because LOTHAIR can work pretty well in the Temporal Vortex too. So I forgot to give him a pro in here. Great versus Temporal Vortex, okay? Because he can do some work in there too. So it goes the same for Lewyn. Huge for progression. Okay. She is range melee character at the same time, which is pretty odd. We're not going to put that on the pros because she goes to do some range. She goes to do some melee hits and stuff. And she transforms and all that. Good for dungeons. Not a speed, not a queen of speed runs or anything like that. Good for Fae. Amazing versus AoE bosses, like the endgame boss, the alliance boss. Good versus single target bosses, because the summoners are. And more or less decent in PvP. Not the best, but pretty good, okay? So maybe not decent is not the best word for her. Good in PvP is a better title. Cons. She needs Irzilas to perform the best. She needs a Premza. She needs a Centralia, which some of them could potentially be replaced by some other characters. But she kind of needs them, okay? Then, another con is she takes time to stack her damage, which means that she is good in long fights rather than something that goes speed running. She gets stronger over time, okay? So she takes time to stack her damage. Another con with her, no speedruns, okay? Another con with her, thinking about it, if we have any other ones, I would say she's not necessarily the most powerful in endgame dungeons, but that kind of goes to speedruns, right? Because you can run her on stage 20 without a problem. But versus speedruns, she's not that great. I'm trying to see if I've missed any other things. I think, yeah, I could say not the best in Fae high stages. But probably she's the best after Vitar, right? So she's second in there too. Not the best versus the high stages where Vitar is the absolute queen. You're going to struggle a bit more with the summoners, but they will get the job done if you are persistent enough, right? I could say in a way or another that being melee is a disadvantage for her, but the thing is, she stacks so many stats that the boss won't be able to kill her. So that won't go as a con onto the character, okay? She's not harder to build than the rest, and you don't really have so much RNG in the runs. That's pretty much it about the exclusives, guys, okay? Keep that in mind when you are picking the exclusive. Now, as I've mentioned, all of them need specific characters to enable their ultimate damage. They need the exclusive artifacts to enable their ultimate damage. Every single one of them does. But they all perform pretty good without it. So I would look at my account and be like, what do I want to play? Which character do I want to get? Is it that important to get Flora? To try and be number 1? Can I be number 1 if I get Flora? Hell, can I be number 30 if I get Flora? Or I'll be still top 100 with Flora because everybody else got it, right? So take all that into consideration when you decide what exclusive character you are pulling for. Hopefully you found this video helpful. As usual, that was all for this video. If you enjoyed the content, do me a favor, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.